Time's up, Admiral.
Here it comes.
Chevron 1, coded.
For my ally is the Force, and the powerful ally it is. Life creates it, makes it grow.
You failed your Highness. I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Cry hammer, and let's set the tongues of war.
Chevron 2 is coded.
Conan, what is best in life? Crush your enemies, see them driven before you, to hear the lamentation of your women.
It's all in the reflexes.
Well, I'll also say that you're heavy into martial arts, Tai Chi and all that killer stuff.
I suppose we have to register you as a lethal weapon.
Chevron 3 encoded.
And somebody ought to belt you in the mouth. But I won't. I won't. The hell I will.
Chevron 4 encoded.
Do you expect me to talk? No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
Chevron 5 encoded.
You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Chevron 6 encoded.
Not for while you can, monkey boy.
Great Scott. Back off, man. I'm a scientist.
You shall not pass!
I thought I'd die fighting side by side with Al.
What about side by side with a friend?
The day may come when the courage of men fails, when we forsake our friends and break all bonds of fellowship. But it is not this day.
Chevron 7 is locked.
Howdy and hail, everybody. Welcome back to Saturday Night Driving, where we sit back, relax, and actually enjoy good movies, usually. Sometimes there's a little disagreement on what's good or not, but I think we're gonna have a good one tonight. Because this was the first of the Tom Clancy novels put to film back in the 90s, and it led to, well, I would say the success of the original Jack Ryan trilogy, and then some rather iffy reboots where they recast and they weren't so great. But this was great because The Hunt for Red October, it starts with the cast, but we'll get into that. As usual, I say hello to Jed. Hi, Jed. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm glad this is one time where I think we both agree on this film, and we're just going to be talking its praise to such a degree that it's not just, oh, we love it because it's fun and enjoyable. Mm-hmm. I think it's incredibly well written, and I haven't seen it in years, so this is the first time since I was a young teenager that I've seen it, and I didn't realize how good this movie was until rewatching it earlier today. It is way tighter than I remember, so I'm very excited.
I have it, but it's in my mom's DVD collection, and it's the DVD 3-pack she got years ago, I think, from a Big Lots run. So, of course, it looks like shit, so I usually don't watch it that often. But either way, I do that. And we're going to welcome back Ryan again this week because he hadn't seen it, and he said, I want to talk about this. I want to talk about it. So, Ryan, welcome back again this week.
Hey, guys. Apparently, I'm having some StreamYard's issues. It doesn't look like my camera. I don't know.
It's fine. Don't worry about it. You're fine.
So anyway, I realized after watching this, I had seen small snippets, but I was like 4.5 when it came out. So no, I've never seen the whole thing. What an incredible movie. And also at the same time, back when Alec Baldwin just wanted to entertain.
Yes. That I'm able to put aside the present for this because it's a long time ago, and
it didn't even look the same.
Recognizable. Yeah,
he's young. Alan Baldwin gives a great performance, and
at least he only killed the cook too.
And listen, I don't know if he's in our chat because I don't think he's subscribed to my channel. But Alan Baldwin's finger did not miss again in this movie. It didn't miss. Anyway,
no, he didn't.
He didn't miss at the end there.
That's pretty funny.
All right, so hail and howdy to everybody across both the chats. We hope you enjoy the show. Click the like button, subscribe to the channels, and let's go. All right, so this is 1990. As I said, this was the first of the Tom Clancy novels that were put out under Jack Ryan. And I remember when I saw this in the theaters, it was family movie week. I mean, we all went to see it. It's like whole family went
Oh,
to
you
see
brought
it.
your grandkids? That's nice.
I am gonna do things to hurt you.
What?
So I went to see this, and I have a vivid memory, not only because the way you guys know my memory works, but because in the middle of the movie, something happened to the projector, and the movie effed up. We were about an hour and 10, 15 minutes in, and it totally effed up. And it was like another half an hour till they managed to fix it and restart the movie from where they left off. So it's a very vivid experience of going to see Hover Rat October in the theater. Of course, I was a child, essentially. I was just almost a teenager, and most of the concepts over my head. Not meant for that.
You are old.
Shut up.
Yeah, I wasn't born for another decade almost.
But of course, subsequent watching years later, you understand the subtleties. And even I watched it again over the past couple nights. I broke it up in a couple watch sessions. And wow, you pick up so much, especially now. I think it's been a good decade actually since I had last watched this movie. Seriously watched it. Because oh man, you pick up the history. They realize it takes place in 1984, middle of the Cold War, and the subtleties of it all, the history, the interactions. You realize the world is afraid of World War III, all that jazz. And it's such a well-constructed movie because Tom Clancy, he got it. When he wrote all his books, he got it. And I've never read the book. I've never read the book, so I don't know how exact an adaptation it is. But I've never heard anybody complain about it as an adaptation of the book. Never.
Not for this one. I've heard people complain about the new John Krasinski show's accuracy.
Those are. I kind of got through season 1 and thought it was okay, but then
I've only seen season 1
because season 2 was a massive decline because they really modernized it in several ways in terms of modern things. Whereas it would have been better off just adapting it for the period that it was written in, not trying to adapt it to this. That's why I tapped out at the end of season 2.
Okay. So you're talking about Reach? Not Reacher. What the hell are we talking about?
Jack Ryan.
Ryan.
There's a Jack Ryan TV show.
Okay,
It's on season 6 now. Season 5.
I haven't watched it.
It ended with season 4.
Season 4. Okay.
I thought it had 4 seasons. So it ended last year. It was over.
Okay, I have not watched that. Quite frankly.
See,
big thing is it doesn't go with the analyst side. It just like jumps into he's action.
Well, they changed his background in that one. They changed him from analyst, even though he was a graduate of the Naval Academy, or they changed all the stuff, but they made him an active Marine. They made him a full-on soldier, and they changed all that stuff as opposed to
more Jack Reacher.
Yeah, instead of the Alec Baldwin version and the Harrison Ford version, which is really an analyst who can take care of himself, but is not. He's not a field agent. He's not a field agent. He just finds himself in these situations, whether he drew himself into it, like with Patriot Games, or got a little too far in Clear and Present Danger, or in this one, did not intend to do this, but kept getting pushed by those above him because he was the only person qualified to do the job.
And he did a damn fine job.
Yeah. And that's why these 3 movies, and I say 3, I say Red October, Patriot Games, and Clear and Present Danger are a fantastic trilogy. And
they are connected, right? Because what's his bucket?
It's timeline.
James Earl Jones is in all 3.
Yes. Jimmy Earl Jones is Admiral Greer, head of the. He is the director of the CIA in all 3 movies, even though he perishes third of the way into Clear and Present Danger from cancer. He is there.
Thanks, dude. I haven't seen the movie.
Oh, god damn it!
It's 30 years old.
Yeah, it's fine. It's not a big deal. I'm just giving you shit.
But it's they are all connected because they are clearly different points because the movie starts here. Let's dive right in. We jump right in, and you can plot it by how old Jack's daughter is. Here, she's 5 years old, and when we get to Patriot Game, she's 10. And also, I gotta say, it'd been a while since I've seen it. I was so pleasantly surprised, even though it was only for 3 seconds, to get a Gates McFadden sighting as Caroline Ryan.
I know. I didn't know she was in this movie.
Yeah, I didn't either.
And this is 1990, so she's smack dab. She had just come back to TNG, which I am also watching right now. That I'm watching season 3 in my off time. So it was a pleasant surprise. I'm like, oh, guess we've had a sighting. Yes. And then she's gone. It's like, no.
You started touching it at first, didn't you?
I plead the fifth. I plead the fifth.
Well, it's okay. Dermy's not here, so it can't be tainted.
No, here's
by
the problem.
That, so.
Here's Kenzo might be watching, and he might start ruining my. Listen, I've recovered from the damage Kenzo did to me by watching all this TNG, and I don't want him to ruin my life again. Anyway, so we dive right in, and well, you know what? Instead of going to the story, I want to start with this cast.
Yeah,
this is a jam-packed cast.
Oh, it's star-studded. Are you kidding me? Like,
first of all, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say it's star-studded before many of these individuals actually even launched their careers.
A young Stellan Skarsgård.
I mean, look at young Sam Neill, and then all of a sudden Jurassic Park. Like, I mean, I think
Sam Neill already done stuff, but he was already pretty established.
He wasn't a phenomenal like A-lister.
He wasn't a household name like Jurassic Park.
He is not. Now he's Sam Neill, and everybody loves Sam Neill. And you know, best wish Sam Neill. He's battling cancer right now.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah,
that makes me really sad. Thanks, dude.
Yeah.
Are you really shitting on my Saturday?
hey, I'm just setting good wishes, man.
But even in small roles, like, and these characters, some of these actors, they've been established, and it's not just like Sam Neill words before his real massive stardom. Like Tim Curry was well established at this point.
Yeah,
and he had a very small role, only two real prominent scenes, and then just in the background.
But it's Tim Curry, and he performed perfectly as to be the kind of very wibbly wobbly doctor who is not in on.
He's the only officer besides the political officer who wasn't in on it. Right?
Yep, the only one.
Yep,
and I've always wondered why. What's his bucket? Sean Connery was able to handpick his entire crew except for the doctor. I mean, like of the commanding staff, the command staff. I get the political officer because you know it's not combat related, but
I think because the doctor isn't combat related, and the thing about Soviet era, everybody had a military designation in Soviet Russia, so the doctor may have been military, but he was a doctor, and it's kind of just probably assigned by some other division to it. Is my guess. And I thought about it, but it didn't really give.
It doesn't make a huge bit of difference, and I think it does make sense to have at least an officer on board who's not involved for going back to Russia, being a person of authority, saying, "Yep, nope, no traitors, no."
It also fits Ramis' plan to get them off because the plan to get the crew off the sub was always to have a radiation leak, and But let's be honest, no matter where you are in the world at the time, the Hippocratic Oath, do no harm. A doctor would not want to lie about that kind of things likely. So having a doctor who's unaware, who truly thinks there's a danger, it probably sells it better when he goes back to Russia to say, oh, yes, there was a radiation leak and I confirm it, rather than being part of the defection team, because then who's to confirm there was a radiation leak?
Yeah, and then the officer is obviously going to be more trustworthy than any of the crew.
I would say he probably might have even chosen the doctor, but he just wasn't in on the plan because he was there to make sure that the crew not only got home safely, but didn't suffer any repercussions.
I can see that being totally plausible just because of how intelligent Sean Connery's plan was and Jack being able to figure it all out. Like, I can see him thinking through that.
And for all we know, it's detailed in the book. For all we know, it might be deep in the book. But then, of course, you just mentioned it, Sir Sean Connery. Oh, dude,
his Russian's not bad.
It's very good.
His accent doesn't change though.
Well, that's always the funny thing. It's always a Scotsman playing something else, but that's the Sean Connery joke, and we don't care because it's freaking Sean Connery.
Yeah,
wearing one of the best toupees he ever had in the movie. Because he was
that was a toupee.
Yes, dude, he was. If you look at Last Crusade, that's his real head in Last Crusade, and that he has that head at that point.
Yeah, Last Crusade was what, 4 years before this movie?
No. Last Crusade was a year before. I believe. I believe Last Crusade was 89.
Wait, so hold on. In the movie The Rock with Nicolas Cage, that was a toupee also?
Yes. He had the best toupee work. Because you go all the way back to Untouchables. That was his real head in Untouchables too. So he had been full on like Patrick Stewart bald since the mid '80s.
Oh, have you seen Patrick Stewart's toupee for the test screenings or the?
Yes, I have seen that.
TNG.
They actually did bring it back in a flashback once
Mhm.
during an episode.
I remember that.
During a Jack Crusher episode or something
Mhm.
like that. Yeah, that was bad.
You know
But
what? I hate you guys again because now it feels like my childhood
what?
is
You
a
didn't
lie.
know?
I
That
had no idea. I thought Sean
Yeah.
Connery had great hair.
No, dude, go watch Diamonds Are Forever. It is massively thinning at that point. And
Oh yeah,
that,
even in Doctor No in the '60s, his
Yeah.
hair was hanging on by a thread.
yeah, they worked hard, but he always had great hair work in all his movies going
Yeah,
forward. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
starting to kind of click now that
Yeah.
you're talking about.
But it was masterful.
You
It was
guys suck.
What? I'm just telling the truth.
I know.
But you got Sean Connery putting on a fantastic performance, and
Mhm.
and we said Alec Baldwin puts on a great performance too.
He really does, yeah.
The somewhat anxious, out of its depth, Jack Ryan at this point, 'cause this is early in his career. He's not the Jack Ryan you get when he's Harrison Ford. Now, of course, I am going to say this. I said it earlier in the week, and when I announced this, I wish it had been Harrison Ford through all three movies,
Mhm.
because then we would have had two movies where we had Ford and Connery on
Mhm.
screen together. That would have been epic. But no,
I would agree too because I like Alec Baldwin in this movie
Yeah.
a lot. I think he's perfect for the movie needed. But from what I understand of the character of Jack Reacher in the book, Harrison Ford can balance the the bookish nature with the action star that's required. of
Yeah.
him. Alec Baldwin, I just can't quite believe him as an action star. He does the bookish side very well,
Yeah.
but he doesn't make the transition. Whereas
He-
we've seen Harrison Ford make that transition many times.
because Harrison Ford was an action star.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't like Schwarzenegger, Stallone level action star, but he was an '80s action star. He did plenty of movies from all the way from Star Wars
mean-
to Blade Runner to Indy that he
Yeah.
put on his
He knew
action
what he
star
was doing.
chops. Yeah.
I have to actually quickly interject. I didn't realize that this is where Jack Ryan came from.
Mhm.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Please
Well,
don't
I'm going
land.
to agree with you because I was so young when I saw the movie the first time. It didn't click that this was the first of that trilogy. Because when I saw
Mhm.
Patriot Games, I had no idea that Red October was a Jack Ryan story because I
Oh,
never
it
remember.
doesn't feel like the same series. Like if you didn't
Yeah.
put two together with James Earl Jones, you could
Yeah.
be forgiven for thinking they're completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as somebody who was so young, I haven't seen all three of them. It just I had no idea that this is something that Harrison Ford did too. Like going, I remember The Fugitive from my childhood, Indiana
Great movie.
Jones, like stuff
Right
like
there,
that.
baby.
Like,
That's right.
yeah,
That's on
I
my
like.
list. I'm
Yeah.
gonna pick it at some
I
point.
didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't know that's what this was. The Jack Ryan series of the '90s.
I think this is the first Jack Ryan book too. I
Is it?
think it is. I think I'd have to go look that up. I might look it up later. But you're right. Harrison Ford does do it better in Patriot Games, and that switch flip from
Yep.
being an analyst nerd to okay, now I'm fighting.
He believably could
Mhm.
play both roles, whereas
But-
Alec Baldwin, not
Yeah.
really.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. But now, of course, you mentioned him, James Earl Jones. As Admiral Greer, it's just great. My favorite moment is in the movie is when the American fleet has caught up to the situation there, and they drop the torpedo from the plane, and then it's about to have about hit, and then you see a hand come down, push a button. I was never here. This never happened. That's my favorite scene of his in the movie. I love that moment. It's just great. and it's
Also,
James Earl Jones pulls it off.
It turns out that that's unnecessary because that was the original plan to think that the Red October was sunk for the crew, but later on they used Stellan Skarsgård's ship actual explosion.
Because it just happened that way, and
It worked out very, very well. But that lie that James was trying to tell turned out to be unnecessary.
Yeah, but
it's still really cool.
That's part of the beauty of it. And we'll talk about that in because I really do want to talk about that final sequence of events there and the way it was portrayed. But let's get into the proper story now that we've shown proper reverence to this jam-packed cast from it's the late 80s, early 90s, a lot of great character actors, and of course, as you said, these stars that are there that make it worthy. Marco Ramius decides to defect because, first of all, he's become disillusioned. Now, I'm very sad. He never bought in Soviet Russia because they mentioned in the movie he's Lithuanian born. He's not even a Russian.
He is, yeah.
He's just part of the Soviet bloc. And he never bought into it, but he did his duty, he did his job, and as long as he had his wife, he was content. But he loses his wife a year before, and suddenly he realizes, what is the point of this, especially now that I'm given command, or I've given the blueprints command of something that is meant to only start war and cause mass destruction. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and that's actually what he alludes to. It seems that he doesn't even actually understand. When given the blueprints, he's like, he's iffy about it, but then he starts to realize this is a stealth vehicle meant to creep up on a shore and end it all.
Yeah, because I'm sure you guys understand this with your military backgrounds. The Trinity system, the land, sea, air system. That's how
Yep.
the I just forgot the term. The shit, what's the term? I just forgot it. God damn it. I'm thinking too fast.
NORAD?
No. The term. Mutually assured destruction, MAD.
Oh, yeah.
MAD works as the ultimate deterrent because no matter what, there is no way to stop a retaliation because subs are spread all over the place. There are always in the air, there are always planes continue flying, and then of course there are silos. So whenever something happens, you're not going to get every single point of attack. Therefore, MAD was I'm going to say it. Some people might be a little objective. Mutual service, we were safer in the world of MAD than we are today. When people were afraid at that point, because it was the ultimate, it was the ultimate deterrent because it was a no-win situation. None at all.
I mean, that's what the entire movie War Games is about, is the no-win scenario of MAD. And I would agree. The mutually assured destruction, while morally questionable to a lot of people, is ultimately the most safe option that they had at the time. As we saw with the Cuban Missile Crisis, we needed a solution.
Yeah. And so you have the idea that you have a sub that can literally move 99% silent, because Jonesy in the book, in the story, proves that a skilled tracker can track it. But 99% stealth capability could literally creep up on the eastern seaboard and pop up and launch. It had something like a dozen nukes on it.
It was 12, yeah.
Yeah, a dozen nukes.
That's
on
enough
it,
to wipe out the East Coast by itself, really.
Yeah.
But with Jonesy following it, or whatever his name was, that was only because he had found it before they went stealth. If they were stealth when they first came across each other, there's no way even he would have been able to know it was there.
So it's a nearly completely foolproof method, the Caterpillar device, and you realize that eliminates MAD, because if you put something right there with that much armament capable of that much destruction, you wipe out every major point in them, because that's right there. It's not a ballistic where it goes up and goes down and you have time to react. No, this is missile launch at a nice 45-degree angle, basically, and boom, the capital's wiped out. Every major city in the country is wiped out, or at least up until the Midwest. And then what are you going to do? All the important shit's on the East Coast. Let's be honest. It's over. War done. So
also at the same time, I kind of want to bring in the military aspect. So the Red October is a Typhoon class. Now, many people in history have probably heard of the incident of the Kursk. It was meant to be the leading submarine before the Typhoon class. Massive problem. Anyway, so the Typhoon class is actually, it is 48,000 tons submerged. The Los Angeles class of the Dallas taking place, actually battling it, its displacement is 6,927 tons.
The Red October is a big bitch.
Huge.
That's because I'm most fascinated whenever I do watch this movie, because that is something I've always thought about, is when you go inside the different subs, you see the roominess of the October versus the
just
narrow,
that one
cramped
room
space.
where the cook fight happens. I doubt you'd find a room that massive over there on the Dallas. That room was huge.
Because the Dallas, I mean, now the Dallas is a attack sub. It's not it doesn't have a nuclear armament because it's an attack sub.
Yes, exactly.
The October is it's a missile sub. It's in that sense. So of course it's got to be bigger, but it really is big in there. And I'm always fascinated by that when I watch it and how there's
Well,
yeah,
it's a
go ahead.
response to the Ohio class subs that are actually on the same level as what the Red October would be. However, the difference is that the Red October is still somewhere in the neighborhood of like I think it's like 17,000 tons heavier in the Typhoon class, and that's based on a legitimate Soviet specs.
And it was even bigger than a regular Typhoon, according to the movie. It was like meters bigger on the side, meters bigger on the front.
Yeah, it was like
So
3 meters wider, 10 meters longer.
You got to realize that makes a big difference.
Oh yeah,
for that little bit of space, and or something
well,
like
look
that.
how many decks are on the ship.
So we've got the fact that Ramius he realizes that this is nothing but a tool of mass destruction meant for only one purpose. This is not a deterrent; it's an end game situation. And he decides, I'm going to defect, because the Americans, I guess from his perspective, the Americans don't want to destroy everything. And since he comes from a part of the world where it was taken over by an oppressive totalitarian regime, of course he's going to say, listen, let's put it in the hands of these guys. They will just take it apart so they can dismantle it and learn the technology and not actually use it.
Well, and they recreate the status quo of MAD if they both have equivalent submarines.
And that's the thing. Yes, exactly. Because let's be honest, they would be able to rebuild the Caterpillar device. So they built it once, they can build it again. And go ahead.
So real quick, I don't think we talked about that. The reason that the Red October is so deadly is the fact that it is a stealth sub. It does not. It has conventional means of propulsion as something that big, 2 propeller blades, in Soviet traditional fashion.
They talk about that.
And so when you actually open these vents on the front and you open the vents on the back, it uses a water propulsion system that is very quiet.
Sounds like whales humping.
It sounds like whales humping, seismic activity. It's basically, I believe that they said magnetic propulsion or something like that.
They used some terminology like that. Yeah, I'm not going to.
Yeah, magnetic propulsion to use the water to move through. It hums, but it doesn't go like you would hear with blades.
And the only way Jonesy knew it was something is because when he heard it, he locked in on it, and then he sped it up times
10 times.
10 times. Thank you. 10 times, and then you could hear that's a man-made sound. That is not that is the rhythmic, repetitive nature of an engine, not whales humping or seismic activity. I'm not letting that go.
I'm going with
such a
whales
great
humping,
line.
dude. I'm with you, dude.
The characters are just so strong, even just in the little interactions, like when we met Jonesy when he's teasing that other sonar operator. Like this film, from a dialogue standpoint, a character development standpoint, it's just so solid.
First of all, you're drawing from a very well-constructed piece of source material. And then you're putting, this was a John McTiernan film. He knew how to direct stuff back then. And they take these characters that are already well developed and put incredible actors in them who can, even through minor interactions, this is one of the things we always talk about, where you can put somebody on a screen character, you can give a show 8 episodes of characters doing stuff, but if the actors don't put life, don't have real conversations, don't actually do anything, and all they do is exposition and blah blah blah, then they're not going to do anything. But you can put a caliber actor like Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford. That was on my brain for that. Sean Connery, James Earl Jones. Admiral Greer's barely in this movie.
What, 2-3 scenes?
Yeah, he's in.
Something like that.
Yeah, in a moment, you understand Greer. His first scene, he's happy to see Jack. He's a little funning with him a little bit. But he understands the situation, says, okay, fine, go ahead. Let's do this. And then when he gets called back in, it's all serious. You're coming with me. And especially when it's, we're giving a presentation. Who's giving it? You are. And you feel the presence of...
To the Secretary of Defense.
Well, no. I was a national security advisor.
Was it? Okay.
It was a SecDef.
I don't know who that actor was for the Security Council guy.
He's the guy from Secret of My Success. He's Uncle Howard.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah.
But all his scenes were very well written. Like
Mhm.
the famous joke at the end of the movie, you lost another submarine
Yes.
using a reputation to keep them from investigating the Red October too much. It was a
Yeah.
brilliant move. But yeah, all his dialogue and his interactions have so many
He has one
layers.
of the best lines of the movie. I'm a
Mm.
politician, therefore I lie, cheat, and I steal. So that is a fantastic line that you can't disagree
There's
with.
so many ones up. I think my favorite scene in the entire movie is when Sam Neill is talking about Montana for the first time. Like, I'm gonna need 2 wives, and just how
Yep.
they're talking about this
I
idealistic life that they're
love
hoping for each other.
it's a fantastic scene because you really get an understanding of the difference between the societies
Mhm.
where you live in Soviet Russia and everything is papers. Everything is documents. Everything is you can only do what the party, what the government tells you. Because they
Mhm.
ask you, wait a minute, I can go to state, no papers,
Without papers, yeah.
no papers. And to them, they think we're even so out there that we will allow 2 wives, which of course that's polygamy, that's illegal. Um, but they think of the America as the ultimate freedom, the ultimate paradise.
Mhm.
And what I love is his idea of what he wants. He just wants to have a farm with rabbits that
He's
he
gonna
can
find a fat
enjoy.
American woman and
That
have many
American
kids
woman.
with her.
I mean, hey, listen, there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
That is a legitimate that's a legitimate dream. But to think that he just wanted such a simple dream.
Mhm. Oh, that scene is doing so much. It's doing character motivation, character
Mhm.
development, humor, world building, and that's what this movie does so well. Is there is no wasted piece of dialogue that I could see, no wasted scene. Everything was doing multiple things.
And you realize that that scene in itself is a fantastic scene because you have these 2 men confiding in each other about their hopes and dreams while they're being hunted in
Oh
that
yeah, the
jumping back and
intercut of
forth.
the Dallas stuff is very tense. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, we're gonna slam into them, and their explanations for it all were fascinating. Like these
Oh, yeah.
different maneuvers.
Well, here's the thing too. The movie, and I once again credit this to Tom Clancy laying all this stuff well out in the book and allowing it to be easily adapted. They drop this technical jargon and you don't feel overwhelmed by it.
No, not at all.
You hear these things.
No.
It's proper exposition, unlike Rebel Moon. You get all these wonderful explanations of how all these things work, and you are easily comprehending it, and you're not lost. It's not techno jargon babble. It's simply, oh, this is what a crazy Ivan is, or this is how the engine works, or
Yep.
I might be rusty on my Morse code. I could be telling him the recipe for whatever he said. I mean, it's such good execution. I've got to mention John Scott Glenn as
Mhm.
as captain of the Dallas. Such a great composition of everybody who knows how to play these types of characters.
Oh, they made a Morse code scene as scenes
Interesting.
so it was so interesting. Their
Yes.
reactions, we don't even know what their plan is, but based on Sean Connery's reaction,
Sean
he's
Connery's
like,
reaction that has stuck with me my entire life.
he's
He,
shocked.
he's like,
Yeah.
give me 1 ping, and then it doesn't. And he's like going,
Yeah.
give me one more ping, and he's like, sir, we already sent one. He's like, give me 1 more ping,
The
and it's
utter
like,
the utter and complete confidence that Connery expresses as Captain Ramius, it's never in doubt. Never once do you question his authority. And I bring this up because I'm watching TNG right now, and I'm thinking back to previous discussions all of us have had about STD, New Trick, Cursor Trick, and the complete lack of authority in there. And I'm watching TNG and I'm thinking, man, look at Starfleet behaving with authority and people doing professionally jobs.
Chain of command.
And I'm watching this movie and everybody follows orders.
Oh, the
the
great
men-
example of it is when Data is in charge of the Enterprise and Worf starts to badmouth him. He takes him over into the captain's ready room and just lets him have it. It's like, I'm still your commanding officer.
Yeah. But and you watch this whole thing, and when in the final battle where Stone Skarsgård's sub, I don't remember the sub's name right now, when it's coming after the October and they didn't arm the torpedo, but Ramius knows how it all works. And Captain of Dallas, he's basically, don't do this. And Ramius going, don't worry.
it's the Alpha.
Yeah.
No, it's an Alpha class. What is it?
I forget the name of the sub itself. It had a
Yeah.
name. They mentioned it. I just don't remember it. But the things he knows, and
he even though this is the first time the Red October is out, he's already intimately familiar with its maneuvering capabilities more than even its
the
own
trench
pilots.
scene at,
Yes,
at,
that's
at
what I'm
Thor's
thinking of.
twins. At Thor's
Mhm.
twins, it's
Yeah,
fantastic.
that was crazy.
Everybody's doubting him, but he's just calmly sitting there, knowing that it can handle it. Although it is that nice thing where he buckles up and tightens it and gives a half smile to Vasily. He's like, "Yeah, you want to buckle? It's gonna be a tight term. We're gonna make it." It's wonderful. And speaking of something like that, I got to give the movie simple, for the most part, a lot of regular practical effects because it's the 80s. It's what they did. It's what they specialize in. But the special effects of the submarines underwater, I truly appreciate it being this dark, foggy environment
Mhm.
where they didn't give us this fake sense that there's light under the ocean. You can see everything going on. No, it's dark down there. It's dark and it's cold and it's pressure. And that's what you feel in all these submarine scenes in the sea. And you watch the October moving through that trench. You watch the Dallas following it. And even in the final battle, we got all the stuff going on. It's cloudy, it's dark, it's got essentially fog of war, but you're still on the edge of your seat, attention wrapped, because they've managed to create this environment that just works.
Well, especially the Laurentian Abyss scene, like on when the and again, this is a real thing. Oddly, I kept so again the Kursk was an actual Russian submarine that was lost. It was an actual disaster, and in this movie that took place 10 years before the actual disaster,
Mhm.
the ambassador said, "Well, we've lost a submarine," and the U.S. government's like going, "Well, how can we help? Can we help recover it? Like going, what do we, let's try to find it." Like going, and it literally plays out a decade later in
Mhm.
a submarine that is literally roughly the same parameters, and it's incredible. And again, they used a small submersible like that to try to find the crew. Ultimately, they were dead because Russia's stupid. But again, the plot of the movie differs. But like on that scene where that little docking sub, that just small
Mhm.
thing meant for rescue only.
Yep.
That's a rescue sub. It's meant for rescue only, and they pound on the hull.
Bong.
And that's a legitimate thing too. When
Yep.
trying to rescue a crew of a sunken sub, you pound on the hull and you listen for signs of life. It was incredible because that scene was so dark.
And that scene reminds me of something else I want to talk about in terms of immersion. You're
Mhm.
completely immersed in this. The
Yes.
movie starts out, they're all speaking Russian.
Yes.
We're also Russian. We're reading
Mhm.
subtitles, and then there's that clean transition when Ramius is talking to the political officer. We're in English, but then you just mentioned it when Jack and Jonesy and the captain are going to enter the October. The officer he's speaking Russian, and that makes you remind you they've been speaking Russian on the October the whole
Mhm.
movie.
Yep.
Very smooth transitions, very very well done. And
Yep.
yeah, no, I I think a lot of the immersion in this film, from just the type of things you're talking about, from the claustrophobia of the submarines to the lack of fake lighting under the water, all this is, it feels accurate. Like I could
Yeah.
believe this was a true story, accurately depicted, not like some of the other historical dramas that we've gotten in recent years. Who are like, yeah, that's
Mhm.
such a caricature of reality that I don't believe any of this is true. But this one, it feels so grounded that I'm immersed the whole time. The only time I wasn't immersed
Mhm.
isn't the film's fault, but something happened that tore me right out of it when they were
What?
at the beginning of the movie, when he goes and talks to the guy from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, the dean who was making that
You're
submarine
thinking
rescue
about that
vessel.
dude's real life situation?
A little bit that, so
Yeah.
I'm already partially out, and then they're talking
Yeah.
about that little vehicle, and they're like, maybe there'll be someday that we can actually.
There's a lot of blatant setup. I mean, there's all kinds of
Mhm.
stuff, and I gotta admit, I only first noticed this on this rewatch that the KGB agent who's the cook, he's at the officer's meal in the beginning of
Mhm.
the movie. I never
Yep.
noticed that before. I
I
never
did.
noticed that.
You
Yeah.
I
always
actually
trust the
did.
cook.
Yeah.
I did in the first watch through, and again, this is literally first full time watching through it, and I was like going, all right, well, the cook kind of he seemed a little too much paying attention.
He was hanging
Uh,
out there.
I just,
Hanging out there.
but who's going to question maybe the head cook, right? Because everybody's got to eat, and there is a hierarchy on a crew too. When you're serving the captain and the officers, you're not going to send Joe Schmo who's E2 or E3.
Yeah.
You're going to send the cook who's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of an E6, E7, or Russian equivalent, somebody who's been doing this for like a decade, and because he knows the customs. So no, I also like the fact that Alec Baldwin, he's like going, it's like a fucking cook, really?
Well, that's because from the crew of the October's perspective, from the officers and Ramius, they're not surprised because KGB everywhere. They expect because remember they're saying, how do we know there's sabotage? There's a KGB agent here. We just don't know who, and not even the political officer knows who it is. Would have known who it was, but that was Soviet society. Here, yeah, we expect there's plants from the government, but we don't think they're everywhere. We don't think that there's a CIA agent all over the place, but KGB were everywhere.
Until the FBI shows up at your house for bad tweets.
Well, different era. We're talking then, not now.
I'm just saying. It comes from the same book.
I know, but we're talking then, not now. But it's one going back to those societal differences. They're not surprised, but of course, Jackson besides because it wouldn't occur to Jack that a cook is a KGB agent. It's just, and
it's not just a KGB agent. This guy is full on prepared to do.
He had knowledge.
Knowledge. He was trained on how to sabotage the Red October in the most minute way possible, but he's also fully prepared to kamikaze, since this is YouTube, and destroy himself aboard the Red October. He's fully prepared to do that.
He was going to Minecraft the whole damn boat because for Mother Russia. Yeah, my orders. Let's focus.
Just real quick with that scene that we're talking about at the end, the shootout. I loved how they took the care to note, hey, there's things on this boat that you don't want to shoot. Don't just randomly shoot, Jack. Whereas the other guy, he's trying to blow up the ship, so of course he can shoot at whatever he wants.
And Jack's muttering
movies,
about it.
Don't worry about where they shoot. And the one time that they actually do in Argyle, they create one of the dumbest scenes in movie history from it. But yeah, no, taking the care to know, bullets, they go places and they do damage. If they don't hit you, they could still do damage.
Yep. And let's talk about Jack for a minute, because we've been talking about everybody else. Let's talk about Jack Ryan. Once again, we'll say Alec Baldwin does great performance. His finger did not miss at the end. And
more than once, by the way, about 5 times.
I like Jack's whole progression through the movie. One thing about Jack Ryan as a character, when played right by Alec Baldwin for the most part and Harrison Ford, is everything Jack does is believable, because they set it up that he's intelligent, he's careful with his thoughts, and he's serious about what he does. He doesn't take chances. And also the Jack Ryan Boy Scout nature, which is a major part of his character. Always optimistic, believing the best in people, believing that we as people in society should be the best themselves. There's a line in Clear and Present Danger where he's confronting his opposite at the CIA as he's promoted through there, and he's saying, "You broke the law," and the guy goes, "You really are such a Boy Scout," because that's Jack Ryan. He believes in the good of people. He believes in the good that the country and government he serves should be doing. He believes that that's what it is. Go ahead, Jen.
Oh, it's just so refreshing because, these days the Boy Scout character is often mocked and ridiculed. Whereas if this were made modern, kind of like the Jack Reach or the Jack Ryan television show, they'd go more the anti-hero route. Our society these days is so obsessed with anti-heroes and being morally gray characters that seeing someone who's a Boy Scout who, is in these complicated, difficult situations, but always optimistic is refreshing.
Yeah.
This film is a dark film to a certain extent, but it still makes you enjoy and makes you smile through all of it. And
because you're rooting for these heroes. You're rooting for Jack to figure this shit out. You're rooting for him to help give Ramius his chance. You're rooting for Ramius and his officers to succeed in what they want to do, because these are people who want to only live in peace. That's their dream, to live in Montana, to go fishing, to not have to be trapped, as Ramius says, in this endless war that has never had a battle but has had too many casualties. That's a powerful line right there.
Well, also at the same time, like Jack's character, he's not this character who has been beaten down by the system, held down by whatever societal metrics. No, he's a former Marine who was held in traction for years and had to learn how to walk again. He's worn a military uniform. He knows what sacrifice means. And again, there's only one ultimate sacrifice, and there's a secondary sacrifice. You risk limb, and limb and body, and he's risked limb and body, but he doesn't want to make the ultimate sacrifice because, quite frankly, he wants humanity to have peace. He'll do it if he has to, but he wants it to be there to be peace, and that's kind of the same. That's kind of the same thing that Ramius wants. He's like, I'll make the ultimate sacrifice, but he's like, ultimately, I want peace. This thing that I'm sitting on is the worst weapon in the history of the world because it's carrying the previous worst weapon in the history of the world, and there's 12 of them.
Yeah, and you're right when you say that Jack doesn't want to have to sacrifice, because he complains the whole movie. Send a memo next time, Jack. Send a memo next time, Jack. Don't do this. Just send a memo. But he pushes forward because he is the Boy Scout. He is the good guy. He will go forward when he
the best qualified. Even
he has to get on the Dallas, and the weather is so bad they can't hook him. And even the CO of the Dallas, the XO of the Dallas couldn't get the hook on. And Jack realizes they're going to leave. All right, I'm going to trust that the Dallas is competent and ready to get me. I'm going to go for a swim. And they were competent because the XO had said, yeah, I got a diver ready to go to pick him up in case we need it. And they had it. And his persistence and his ability to see the best in everybody, but also his proficiency, his competency. We talk about a lot of this stuff in discussions these days with characters. Competency. You can have a character be competent right off the bat if you demonstrate their knowledge and skill through proper scene exposition, not necessarily info dump. Through actions.
Yeah, no, it's show don't tell. It's not like with a modern heroine. There's like, she's the bestest ever. Now just believe us, every crazy thing she does.
Yeah.
It shows you Jack being very proficient, very concisely.
Yep.
And the only thing they actually tell about Jack is the fact that when the captain of the USS Enterprise says,
I love that. I smile every time.
Yeah, I know you did. I did too. When the captain of the USS Enterprise, he's like going, the XO is like going, well, I have a problem with him wearing the military uniform.
Actually, that was an admiral, and that was the captain. So he was an admiral. I was looking closely this time. I wasn't sure.
Well,
I saw the star.
Was it? Okay.
I saw the star on his collar. There was an admiral.
Okay.
And it was the captain was also the guy who was in The Nanny who played Moriarty on TNG.
Really
interesting.
Yep.
Really.
Yeah, he's speaking with an American accent. He's English, so he's speaking with an American accent. And
that Moriarty is great.
Yeah, I just watched that episode last week.
Ow. Also, shout out to when movies actually use the U.S. the U.S. Armed Forces to film stuff.
Yeah.
Back
Hollywood, then there were deals. They specifically
made deals to give. Yeah.
And they had representatives on set to make sure it was accurate.
They don't.
It was also morale for soldiers, by the way, and sailors. Like, and that's what I actually loved about Top Gun Maverick is that Tom Cruise went back to that. But we're not there. Jed, what are you gonna say?
Oh, I was just gonna say they unfortunately still do that for other stuff because I know people who worked with Captain Marvel at Nellis Air Force Base. So they don't have representatives. I don't believe trying to keep it accurate, but like filming on base, interacting with people, having real airmen in the background.
And so you have competency at all levels, and you understand. And then you have the And you got to the Joint Chiefs debate there, where
Yep.
at that point they're a bunch of cake eaters. I know that's a term you guys use, a bunch of cake eaters who aren't really on the ground anymore, who aren't connected to what's going on. And then you're on the Enterprise, and you have an admiral that is on the ground, knows what's going on, understands the deal. You have a captain who is questioning this, but follows his orders, and then gets respect for Ryan when he learns about his competency.
Yep.
And then Ryan displays it because he puts all the pieces together, and he does what Jack does. That's what Jack Ryan does in all these movies, from this one to Patriot to Danger. Jack Ryan solves the puzzle, and unfortunately, by the end of it, he's in the middle of the maelstrom he's that the puzzle is connected to, and he has to claw his way out of it from ultimate danger, losing his life. But he doesn't want to lose life because he has a family. And that's gets even more apparent in the second one, in Patriot Games, which is focused around him and his family, which is such a good movie too. They're all three fantastic movies, all masterfully cast and well acted and story told. Go ahead.
Can I real quick? Legatus has actually highlighted the Captain Davenport. You're kidding. How did you, Admiral Josh Painter? Greer told me summer of his third year, he and his squad went down in a chopper accident in the med. Bad pilot.
Backstory.
Yeah, that kid spent 10 months in traction. Another year learning to walk again. Did his fourth year from a hospital. That is, other than dying, that's the worst way to
determination.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the finale, because we have this whole movie for 2 acts. It's a suspense thriller. It's a bit of it's a military thriller. It's a war movie thriller. And then suddenly at the end, you have a submarine battle. They managed to make a submarine battle intense and entertaining and gripping through the special effects of the subs going back and forth, to the sounds of the torpedoes homing in. Bing, 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 bing. It's masterfully done to a beautiful tapestry. And of course, performed beautifully by everybody. First, what you have, Ramius continue to be Ramius in the first part of it, where he detonates the torpedo, despite and he's calmly talking to Jack about his book. Oh, well, yeah, you had it all wrong. Your conclusions were wrong.
There's a little more to it. So, torpedoes are actually there's an armament to detonate at a proposed destination amount of time. So this time to target takes this amount of seconds, and so Ramius, being smarter than everybody else, at 40 years at sea, 40 years, he turns in to the plane,
beats it to it,
and he beats the torpedo to the mark, and the torpedo hits and skims off the hull, because the warhead I'm not the warhead, the timer,
the fusing mechanism wasn't armed.
The fusing mechanism wasn't armed, and most of the time too, with Soviet era missiles, torpedoes, they actually had a mechanical fuse that was actually clocked up into this point. So yeah, it was crazy.
And what you get there is he knew situation, but then he still knew situation. He says, and right now, the man I taught is he's removing the safety mechanism. These things are going to be armed coming out of the tube, and now we have to dodge it. And then of course you have that outstanding moment where the Dallas swoops in, picks it up, and then you get probably is one of the most famous lines: "You arrogant ass, you've killed us." I mean, it's all done so well, and it's all played about on the top, where you're on the surface, and you have the crew of the October thinking the captain's battling the Americans.
They made him surface. Oh yeah, just watching them, the play that's going out in front of them and their reactions is great. But my favorite part of the Dallas swooping in to save the day, like you're talking about, obviously they're saving the day.
Yeah.
But if worse comes to worse, they've created plausible deniability to fire back at Stellan Skarsgård's ship because, hey, this missile nearly hit us, or this torpedo nearly hit us. We have the right to fire back and defend ourselves.
And you gotta love the XO of the Dallas saying, "Hey, we got to follow the rules of engagement here. They haven't fired on us. We can't do shit. But then that's the bravery of those submariners and the loyalty to their captain who's trapped on the October, that they are willing to put their life on the line for all of that right there. And it's just so good, and it's exciting. And then you have it juxtaposed against Jack and Ramius going after the KGB cook and that whole thing. And the KGB cook, you get a good look at him. That one moment, he's just sneering to just hit that fuse to set off the nuke. And it's all done so well. And it's satisfaction. You've had the whole build of this movie. If you go back early in the movie when Stellan Skarsgård's sub is introduced, he says, "We're going to kill a friend." They set it up right there that this was going to happen. But if you haven't seen the movie, you kind of forget about it because he's gone for the whole entire second act.
There's a lot of subtle setup, just like what you're talking about, even more so like the bear that we see in the final scene. That was a throwaway reference in the first 15 minutes of the movie. Like there's so much
and the
little
sleeping
setup and payoff.
And the sleeping, in fact, that I can't sleep on turbulence. And after that, he hasn't really slept in days. And suddenly now he's so exhausted, doesn't matter. I'm asleep. I'm going to go to bed on this planet. I don't care anymore. I just went through.
It's like poetry. It rhymes.
You know I hate that people murder that phrase. You know I hate that. God damn you people! You
the only way I use
all you assholes, all the assholes in every goddamn stream I do. Everybody knows the things that push on. Dermy says hi to every goddamn person who's on panel in the chat because he knows I freaking hate it. He already said hi to them, and now he's saying hi to him in chat. He does it. He admits it. He does just because I hate it.
He keeps saying hi again because he can.
Yeah, and you do
saying
this shit. You know I hate it. Yeah, I didn't do it today. I haven't done it yet. All right.
You did say again. But it was
probably not as it was not as a transition. If I didn't do a transition, I'm not going to shit on myself about it. No. If I didn't do it as a transitionary word.
I'm sorry. What do you mean, you people?
I mean all you people. All y'all.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean
that's
all
what
y'all.
I thought.
Yeah. Anyway, so that scene it's a masterclass in conclusion, setup, and payoff, where suddenly we're gonna. Listen, it's late 80s. Even though it's 1990, I'm still going to say it's late 80s because it was made in 89. It just got released in 90. It's what the 80s did. It gave you a great, serious movie and then manages somehow to give you a great action scene to culminate all these characters doing stuff. And everybody is there. And you show, I'm drawn back to the competency. Everybody performs their roles with professional excellence. And the incompetent, like Stellan Skarsgård's captain, he's incompetent because he's a narcissistic, arrogant ass who wants to get one over on his mentor. And he takes the shortcut to win by disarming the safety mechanisms on the torpedo, and karma comes literally right back at him.
Well, there's that where his arrogance overcomes his experience, but I also take it that the only reason that he's the one Russian submarine to keep up with him is because he is the prodigy. So he does have a very strong level of expertise and experience, but he lets that be overrun by arrogance and hatred.
And also that hatred and the disgust, and also he's hungry for glory, because remember when he first gets the notice that the fleet has been deployed to hunt down the October, he gets it 7 hours later, and he's so angry that they missed the initial announcement that would have allowed them to get the lead. Because Jed, you bring up a point. He is one of many, probably just the last student of Ramius, so he understands Ramius the best. Therefore, it's no surprise he's the one that catches up to them finally at the Abyss. But it works so good. And it feels so right that I honestly, I'm looking for complaints about this movie, and I don't really have any.
Neither do I.
I don't.
I can't find any plot holes. Like my normal, that's a big coincidence. Everything is so well justified.
Everything, and because it's all reasoned out. And it all winds up, and my favorite thing, they take account of time. There's no instant transmission. There's no instant teleportation. It says 20 hours later at the Abyss. Time has passed. Everybody's in
Well,
place for the event.
well, yeah, not just that, like going 25 seconds to mark, like going
Yeah.
a mark of where you need to change course, like
Mhm.
going, it is literally determined by nautical, knots and time, and it's it, it's really good.
It's
Yeah,
the attention to detail that matters, and
a massive attention.
you can attribute that to Tom Clancy for writing an excellent book, and then you can attribute to everybody for respecting his source material and
Oh, it's
not
crazy.
deviating. I know.
Shh,
Shocking thought.
we can't do that. Come on,
Shocking
man.
thought. If you
We
follow the
can't give people
story,
what they want, what they know.
and if you follow the story, that is a successful story, and you put it to adaptation to live action, and everybody's going to watch it, they're going to love something that's already beloved by others who read the book. Wow, surprise! It's going to be successful. Gee, boy, howdy. All right, the soundtrack is just a solid thematic soundtrack. It doesn't have any
Yep.
original catchy themes, but it's all set to those moments, and
It's just background music
it
that literally
sets the scene.
fills the
Yeah.
background and sets the scene.
It keeps
Mhm.
you attached to what's going on. Therefore, it does succeed in that product of I like that it elevates it to that point. I couldn't hum a bar of it right now if you paid me, but it is perfect in the moment. And it's just it adds to the ambiance. All right, does anybody want to add anything else?
Just what Legata says in the chat. I looked up while watching
Mhm.
the film its budget versus its box office, and it made very good money.
That's for and that's 1980s money. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
that's money that's worth its dollar. Right
Well,
there.
well, yeah. So in 1992, when this released, it's going to be. I would love to see the inflated box office, because it made hand over fist in 1990.
Mhm. Oh, it was a massive success because that
Massive.
this is a period of time when actors put butts in seats. I guarantee you, my family would see that because it was starring Sean Connery. Starring Sean Connery means, oh, I'm gonna go watch this. It's Sean Connery, and then you got all this
Yep.
other cast in there, and it's like, okay, this is great. So this is a period of time where a name put a button because you realize his name is on the header. Sean Connery's name comes first, then Alec Baldwin. This was Sean Connery's movie. Even though it's a Jack Ryan movie, it starred Sean Connery as Marco Aurelius. That's what you have to understand. People were there to see Sean Connery. And so it's when movies were movies. And that's why we do this show. So we can go
Yep.
back and talk about what Hollywood used to be when they knew what their job was, to entertain and to pluck up source material, books, IPs that are just great at what they do. Tom Clancy's stories were great for what they did in that period of time, telling all these spy military thrillers. That's what it was about. And they put that to screen beautifully several times. And as I said earlier, it fell apart when they got to Sum of All Fears, even though I think Legatus had it earlier in the chat, the
Yeah.
timeline. They did that and they retrograde made it a prequel instead of making it the end.
So it is considered part of it. I was going to ask.
No,
you
it
that.
isn't. It's they made. I mean, they
Or is it a reboot instead
Ben.
of a
I
prequel?
mean, I don't know because they had Ben Affleck as Jack Ryan. Which, listen, I've seen the movie. I only saw it because it was the end of a semester when I was getting my master's in public administration, and in my national security class, our professor, he had nothing else to do, so he said, "Okay, we've been talking about all this stuff nuclear wise. We're going to watch The Sum of All Fears. What would it look like if a bomb actually goes off on American soil?" So we watched it, but it's not in line with the Jack Ryan trilogy from October to Clear and Present Danger. It's a prequel because he first meets his wife in that one. They're not married. Morgan Freeman plays Greer in this one, and as I said, it's Ben Affleck as Jack Ryan, and it didn't work for me. I didn't enjoy the movie because they were trying to reset it, and it now by the time they made it, the original versions. They'd already kind of been retired. I mean, Harrison Ford had moved on. They was not going to do Jack Ryan again. Obviously, it'd been too many years. But they tried to redo then, and they tried to. We talked about earlier. They tried to resuscitate the character with the Amazon series, and it was an okay first season. But then it went really downhill with season 2, and people really said it got bad in season 3, sort of recovered season 4. But I was done because when I realized the way they were doing it, they were not going to actually retell the stories. Because I was kind of hoping for maybe a new version of Red October to see what they did if they turned it into a TV series and followed like that.
They modernized it. It was all about Afghanistan and Iraq and whatnot, the Middle East versus Russia.
Yeah, so I was disappointed because I wanted it to be good.
It's like comparing the 2 Red Dawn movies.
Oh God!
You seen the newer one?
Yes, I saw that.
Really bad.
They have trying to convince us that North Korea can invade us and defeat us, and then instead of and it's blatantly North Korea, not China.
Apparently that was a last minute change.
Yeah, it was, which made it stupid. And then having having them at the end riding around in the final scene of them riding around in Jeeps and Wolverines. And that was ridiculous. There's something about original Red Dawn that works because it's of the time and also a better cast. It's a better cast. That's another time. We may do original Red Dawn one day. Wolverines. Patrick Swayze.
Wolverines.
Patrick. All right. Well, we're done. Ryan, you are our guest this week, so you may drop your rating first.
Oh, this one is this one is so good, and I see so little plot holes. I'm not going to give it a 10 out of 10, but I'm going to give it a 9.5.
It was my choice this week, so I will go next. Ryan, I'm right there with you. I find, as Jed said earlier, there are no plot holes. There's no character breaks, even though we're a little iffy on the other half of Alec Baldwin being Jack Ryan, the action part of it. It still works well enough. It's so short in that moment that it's okay. I have no complaints. I have no criticisms that I normally dive into. So I'm right there with you. 9.5 out of 10. Because I am never not satisfied with this movie. And of course, I love every minute of Sean Connery on screen. Every minute. Jed.
Well, I am actually very, very close to both of you. And, I grade things differently than most people. Giving anything up to an 8 is very rare for me and a very big deal. But this film is just borderline flawless. It is just incredible and tight from a writing standpoint, production standpoint. I can't think of any aspect of this film that aged poorly, even of itself. Like, it still looks incredible. So I'd have to give it a 9. So right there.
Oh man, look at that. Man,
holy crap.
We are
the third one I've ever done in years and years of this show.
This is what you get when quality is presented on screen. Basically 9s across the board. All right, there you got it, guys. Another one in the books. Jed, do we have a movie for next week?
We do. I decided to go back a little bit farther into the past for a classic that I loved growing up, to see a young Ian McKellen with non-white hair. I know, or gray or anything. He has his full natural colored hair. We were going all the way back to, I think it's the early 70s, maybe the late 60s, with the Scarlet Pimpernel.
My mom loves that adaptation. I can actually go get it from her. I have it. I actually have it. I can watch it. I actually have that.
I'm a big fan of the book as well. I've read and listened to the book.
I haven't actually seen it. I've heard it on. I have not said. She raves about it. So,
I think there's other adaptations as well, but this is the only one I've seen.
This is, to her, she says this is the best. She has multiple adaptations. She says this is the best one with Ian McKellen and Jane Seymour. Young Jane Seymour.
Wait, Jane Seymour is in it?
Jane Seymour is in
back in the day. But yeah, for those you don't know, it is a film that follows the French Revolution, a kind of operation in collaboration with the British government to get French nobles out of France during the Revolution.
Okay, all right. So next week,
real quick, what's it called? Okay, yeah, no, that's what I was looking for.
All right, guys. Thank you, one and all. Ryan, again, thank you for being here. Why don't you tell us what's going on this week with you?
Well, so tomorrow we should be doing Hunting Mustache Man. Speaking of uh European history. Yeah, the History Channel's documentary of hunting Hitler. Myself, Clifton 3D, Anna's Gameland. We should be doing season 2, episode 1 review about the fact that maybe one of the world's biggest enders didn't leave. So Monday should be House of the Dragon, season 1, episode number 4. Don't quote me on that. It should be episode number 4 though. Yeah, other than that, like going great to be here, guys. It's an incredible movie. Never saw that. In fact, the Legato said 9.5, 9.5, 9.0. Wow. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's shocking that mine is within 2 points of that.
Yeah. All right.
And Legato says corrected me. It's 82. I don't know why I said maybe the 60s, but it's the 80s, I guess.
Right. So, Jed, anything besides Roundtable tomorrow?
No, nothing else to add. Definitely tune in for Roundtable tomorrow.
All right. And if you guys are watching real time, check us out tomorrow on Roundtable. And if you're also watching real time, I will be streaming some Final Fantasy 14 tonight on Dermy's Saturday Chatterday. Some of the boys on there will be probably getting in, and I'll be helping them get started. So catch that on Renaissance Nerd Arcade. Time TBD, because Dermy starts that late. So I will get that started around when he does. But anyway, thank you one and all. Thank you, Ryan, for being here. Thank you, chat. We love you. We appreciate you. We thank you for all your support. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channels, and we will see you guys next week. Until then, guys, take it easy.
See ya.